Welcome back everyone to Data Science for Kids. Today we're going to be looking at creating objects with p5.js and JavaScript. Let's get started. So one of the best things that we can do, and very useful thing to learn, is to utilize classes or objects in a programming language. Okay, this is all coming back to object-oriented programming. And so object-oriented programming is just probably one of the let's just call it one of the best things that you can ever do, okay? Because you wind up having things called properties and methods, and this is going to be a very important instance for us to learn with software design and everything else. So we're going to have to start defining constructors and all of these types of things. This is where the class is really going to start ramping up for the foreseeable future, and it is something that I find completely just mind-bogglingly awesome. So let's talk about first off kind of like what we may want to do. Okay, so let's say that we want to create a ball. Okay, so we're going to go on and create up a variable called ball, and we want to draw a ball. Okay, and we're going to also want it to move. So let's say that we want to have a ball, and we would say something like to instantiate or create a new ball, we would say a new ball, and let's say that you want it to start at something like 100, or let's say 200. Okay, and then you would also be able to, let's say, discuss the color or create the color of a ball. So let's say that we want a blue, no, let's do a red ball. Okay, now each of these here, okay, are arguments for a function, but they're also properties. Okay, and these are things. So, for example, this is like power on, power off, location, speed, color. Okay, now other things that we can do. So let's say that later on we want to be able to have a method, okay? And so that would be something like ball.move and ball.show, okay? Now see here we're having these dot functions here, these methods here, okay? So these are methods. All right, and this would technically be like the move method, and here would be the show method. Now, what we would consider this, okay? So think about move and show as internal functions inside of an object. So now let's go on and maybe actually create and construct an object, okay? And so to do that, we actually are technically going through and creating a function, okay? So in this instance, we'll create a function called ball. So we'll go here and we'll say something like function ball, and we'll give it, let's just say temp x, temp y, and temp color. And let me move this and make this just a little bit bigger so that we can really see everything that's going on here. And so inside of here, all right, we have to be able to create these. So like you're just feeding in some information here, okay? So temperature X, temperature Y, color. Now we want this object here, this new object. And you notice I keep stressing this, okay? Because this object needs things of its own, okay? So this dot X is equal to temp X. So this would be the X location for this ball, okay? So then we can say this dot Y is equal to temp Y, okay? And so again, we are feeding in this temp Y to here, and then we're giving it this, we're giving it to this ball up here, or whatever ball we create, okay? So then we would also have something like this dot color is equal to our temp color. Now, this is great. All of these are now attributes, okay, or properties. Sorry, let's call this a property. These are our properties, okay? And we want them to be able to do something. Now, Another thing is we want to be able to create a function. Okay, so let's create a show function. So I'm going to actually comment out that move because we won't have it move at first. So to have internal methods or internal functions or something like that, okay, we need to create a function inside of this, our object. So this dot show, okay, would be here. What do we want to do with this? Let's see here. We want to go on and create up, our function. And this one will say something like, since it's a ball, we'll say ellipse this dot x, this dot y, and let's give it a diameter of 20. Okay, and so now if we run this piece of code, I'll have to get rid of this red for a second because we're not using it. And I hit play here. Notice we created up this nice singular dot. Now this is kind of a roundabout way. We could easily have just said something like ellipse 200 by 200, okay? And that would have done the same thing. So for example, if I had done something like ellipse 100 by 100, okay, and we would have it by 20. Oh, it's not in the draw function. So if I put it down here in the draw function, it would pop up there, okay? But notice here, we're calling it up here. We're creating our object, and then now it is running down here. We can also give it more things, okay? So for example, we had this color, and we said red. So then let's go on and allow this to fill color here of this dot color. And now, boom, we have now a red color. So we're taking this red, we're passing it into temp color, then we're passing it into this dot color because it's now for this ball that we're wanting to create, okay? And we're passing that into fill. Now these are all of our properties. Now another thing that we said is that we made up some move function here. Okay, so let's go on and create up a move function. Now one thing that we need to do is let's go on and give this a speed. So we'll say this dot speed is equal to, let's say, 3. Okay, so we're basically gonna make it jitter around. We're gonna make it move around and shake for now. Later on, we can actually, following some of our motion examples that we had done before, we can make it move left and right based on clicks and whatnot. But for now, let's just have it move in some random pattern. So this dot move is equal to a function here, and we want it to be able to move in some sort of random fashion. Okay, so this dot x is going to move based on a random number between this dot negative this dot speed and this dot speed. Okay, so we'll be able to make it move. Notice here, if it's running now, notice it's moving back and forth, kind of in a random pattern, right? Now let's go on and give it some up and down motion as well. So this dot y plus equal to random negative this dot speed, this dot speed. Okay, and notice now it's definitely kind of jittering all over the place for us. Now this is great and all, but why in the world would we want to do all this extra work just to make a ball jitter all over the screen? Well, this is where the power of the objects themselves come in. Okay, so now all we have to do is, let's say we want to create ball 2. So we can go down here and say ball 2 is equal to new ball. Let's make it start at the same place, 200 by 200 by blue. okay? And notice it did not show up, okay? Because again, all we did was create the object. We have not told it to do anything yet. So if we come back down here, okay, we should now be able to say something like, oh, and let me give it a little bit of space so you guys can see. All right, so we say here something like ball2.move, ball2.show. And notice, boom, now we have two little molecules, let's say, jittering on the screen with each other. Now we can slow them down if we go back up to this speed and let's say we do something like 1. Okay, now they're nice and slow. They're moving around and everything. And this is great. Now, if you guys remember all the way back in the beginning of the series, we also allowed things to have kind of like tail movements. And so we can do this by just simply moving this background up to the top. Okay, and we can move this, let's just put it underneath the canvas for now. And so now these guys will have some tails following them. And if we want it to be a little bit more blatant, we can go on and do something like no stroke here. And I'll get rid of that blackness. Okay, and maybe later on we could add alpha or anything else. But again, here we've just created up some of the basic designs here of creating some objects. We're able to change the speed, the color, and again, things that we'll be able to add in later on is we'll be able to add in those motion controls, okay? So moving left, right, up, down, and actually put in full movement control. Okay, and so the next things that we're going to want to be doing is we'll take maybe our penguin example and we'll have that graphic maybe move around based on some of our own movement requirements, okay? But we'll do that next time. If you guys like this, please comment, subscribe, and hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.